Are you looking for a high-end bike company that specializes in producing quality and premium parts, as well as giving them to you at an affordable cost? Well, that's where Cascade comes in. Our team consists of me, Drew Carlson, Ben Lamb, Vishal Mala, Lila Botur, Mimi Bricker, and Wyatt Ellis. Throughout this presentation, we're going to show you how we went through quarter one, talking about team dynamics, as well as quarter two, discussing our store openings. Moving on to quarter three, how we increased our product lines. And then quarter four is how we scaled our production. And finally, our future plans going into quarter five. At Cascade, we believe that adventure starts at your doorstep. We produce high performance, rugged mountain bikes, as well as city bikes that are perfect for going around the city and getting places fast. On the right, we see what our ideal Cascade customer would look like: fit, strong, put together, and most importantly, a fan of the Fighting Irish. Now I'll pass it to Ben to talk about quarter one.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. So in quarter one, we really had to focus on establishing our brand internally and externally. Secondly, identifying our target market and our ideal consumer. And then third, establishing a good manufacturing setup in order to help grow revenues in the long term. I first want to start out by saying, or by talking about our team dynamics, as we feel like that is really important to show how we operate as a consulting group. At first, we started with an approach where we had one team leader who really made the bulk of all the large decisions, but then we found that shifting towards sort of a more shared leadership led to better results. We also thought complementary skill sets, such as emphases in finance or marketing, helped encourage collaboration with two different um, emphases coming together. We also had regular check-ins to boost accountability, and our diverse perspectives we felt drove creativity in making these large decisions. I also want to get more into team decision making. The vice presidents of each area made most of the decisions for that, but we also had a cross-functional decision-making strategy where we would make a decision primarily and then sort of outsource it to people in other departments so that we could get inputs, say if it was financial metrics in a manufacturing mindset. Overall, this helped us stay overall this helped us change our decisions quickly while remaining with our strategy. Now let's talk about our quarter one market research and segmentation strategy. After conducting some market research, we found that Amsterdam and New York City fit most with our goals as a company, which we started as a focus with recreational and mountain bikes. We thought that the opening stores in these two areas would create the most revenue as the demand for these two bikes was the highest in these cities. To do that, we set up a what we thought at first was a great manufacturing facility, but we only bought three printers, which our financial advisor said was smart because buying any more than that, we would have been approaching a territory with a very scarce budget. Those three printers cost about $760,000, but it didn't quite meet the demand that was needed. Now I'm going to pass it on to Mimi, who's going to talk about the quarter two.
Thank you, Ben. So for quarter two, we mainly focused on growth and momentum. We wanted to expand our market presence while also expanding bike production and then grow revenues. So by doing this, we launched three bikes, one being the mountain bike, one was hybrid, and one was speed. And then we also made a future prototype, which we named Comfort. And in the future, we then named the hybrid the Comfort, but we'll get into that later. We priced all of our bikes a little bit under what consumers were willing to pay because we are a new and upcoming business. So we wanted to keep it under what they were willing to pay. And then for our media placement, we heavily put a presence in the biking magazines, but we also dispersed our bikes in different other various magazines as well. But we put all three of our bikes in the biking magazine. And then for quarter two, we opened two stores, one being in New York City. New York had the highest in speed and mountain, so we saw a lot of potential demand there. And then we also opened a store in Amsterdam, and they had a large potential demand for recreational and then second highest in speed. So we thought these two places were fitting for where Cascade could open. Next, I'll be talking about the manufacturing. So this is where we made a flaw in buying more printers. We definitely should have bought more to keep up with the demand. We had a total demand of 1,385, but our projection was 1,200. So that's why you see some stockouts during this quarter. We definitely should have bought more printers to keep up with the demand. Next, I'm going to pass it on to Lila to talk about the changes that we made during quarter three.
Thank you, Mimi. So now in quarter three, with the decisions we made in quarter two, we finally had some market research to rely on, and we saw that speed was our top category in bikes. We also had a high spike in demand, and so we decided to add some more brands onto the rest in this quarter. Our performance overall was high in financial and market and with our assets. Um, so for the brands, our current bikes were the mountain bike, comfort, or just the mountain bike and speed bike. We didn't launch the comfort yet, but we launched that in this quarter along with some plus bikes so that we could target each target market of recreation, speed, and mountain. However, these bikes were viewed as by consumers as too low and that they would have actually paid more. However, staying with our cost leadership strategy, we increased the prices, but just enough that they still remained lower than the competitions. So for advertising, one of our issues that we realized was that we actually were too eager with our advertising and put too many features onto them, which made them look too busy, whereas the competition put only a couple of their top features into the ads and made it easier for consumers to read. So seeing that that did better with the overall brand judgment, we copied that from competitors and made more minimalistic regional advertisements. So looking at the competitors helped us gauge that. Additionally, with adding new stores, with our new bikes, we figured that we needed to target more markets, and so we expanded into Rio and Bangalore. Rio having a high recreation population and Bangalore having a high speed population stuck with our target segments. And for adjusting our sales and service distribution, we added more speed into New York City as it was skyrocketing in that city. And then we invested in speed and recreation in Amsterdam since those were our top targets there. For our projected demand, we figured that in the next quarter, it would be more diversified by having more bikes in each category since we had a recreation bike now and then two in every other section. And also by having more advertisements and stronger marketing, we figured that the demand would be even higher. And we projected the demand per salesperson would be 232 units. Additionally, overall manufacturing was still projected to be under since we were still catching up with other stockouts, and we compensated this by having an hour overtime and an additional 7 printers. Now I'm going to pass it to Vishal, who will explain how this impacted quarter four.
Yeah, thanks, Lila. So looking at the quarter four summarized scorecard, we have the highest total performance in the whole simulation in this quarter. And this is due to some of the decisions we made in the previous quarters of opening up the new stores, diversifying our product offering of 3 new brands in the plus models. And this led us to the highest gross profit we've had of 5,612,000, as well as a continually increasing demand per salesperson of 326. Lastly, the revenue skyrocketed from quarter 3 to quarter 4, going from $2 million in quarter 3 all the way to $8 million in quarter 4. So looking into some of our quarter 4 decisions, one of our big emphases was really scaling our production and manufacturing up to catch up the demands and making up for our missed up in our past quarters. So by doing that, we bought the maximum amount of printers that they allowed us to buy, which was 7. And this increased our units that we would be able to produce up to 7,605 units. And this is still about like 2,000 units below the total demand. So we had to kick up overtime production as well, and we had to maximize our overtime production at 4 hours. And this still didn't quite get us to meeting demand, but minimized us losing some of our customers to our other competitors. And going off of Q3, this is the first quarter that we've had of our new Plus brands being able to be sold. So we saw a great increase in demand, and this is thanks to our really sophisticated marketing that targeted the special features and additional benefits that you would receive with the Plus models, kind of really making people believe, like not making people believe, but um, making the willingness to pay for those bikes fairly put. And then with that being said, I'm going to pass it on to Wyatt to talk about Q5.
Thank you, Vishal. So in Q5, we're going to be talking about our next steps going forward as a company, as Cascade, some new products that we're going to be introducing, and most definitely our lessons learned throughout this whole experience. Our next steps to drive demand and increase our demand overall is going to be having targeted ads towards tech-savvy consumers and towards early adopters. This is because we are R&Ding some new potential bikes, especially an EV bike that I'll show you later. We're going to be increasing worker compensation to drive demand as happy workers sell more, as we've seen. Like I said, some new products that we're introducing is an EV bike and other kinds of merchandise. And from this graph, from the past quarters, we're projecting a 150-point increase per sales worker through all of these steps that we've taken. Some new products that we're R&Ding is a new EV bike. This is great for our mountain bike consumer as well as our recreational, more on the mountain bike side because it will be a little bit more expensive, but we're targeting it towards just about anybody who would love to give it a try. Some new gear designed by us that's going to include helmets, gloves, bike shoes, other types of gear, water bottles. But most of all, we're going to be incentivizing all of this new merchandise and products by doing gift card rebates. Instead of doing rebates where we just give cash right back to the customer, we're going to want to do gift card rebates so we can bring that cash back in and keep it with us and have a happy consumer. In Q5 and lessons learned throughout our whole experience with Cascade, we really had a major error in Q1 with investing in a CD. We could have invested in other places, done better targeted marketing, and just driven demand a little bit harder. This was a big error that we had. Another big error was most of all that really impacted all the later quarters was in Q2 with just not buying any printers. We wanted to see how the market reacted to the bikes, but we just did not predict that demand would grow so fast. And then in turn, it just really hindered every single later quarter. We realized that we needed to do more minimalistic advertisements as a lot of different labels and a lot of different things kind of confuses the consumer and makes it more like in the middle of what is the bike. We needed to expand to multiple brands much faster than we did. And we need to give our workers adequate compensation for the work they're doing, as the more work and the better they are paid, the more work they're willing to do. And at Cascade, we are driven by the past and designed for the future. And I'll pass it on to Drew for a wrap up and a thank you.
Now that you guys know more about Cascade, it's essential for you guys to choose us as partners, as we've gone down a road of a lot of successes as well as losses within our company. And we believe we can help you as much as you can help us. Thank you.